Welcome to the Journey of Growth podcast, episode 45. I'm ThE, the host of this event, which was created so myself and others can share a perspective of it in hopes that one another's insights will be relatable, establishes awareness, and inspires listeners to adopt and maintain such behavior. The definition of growth is the process of developing new skills, attitudes, actions, or reactions that can have a beneficial impact on your life and increases your overall well being. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, which can result in an enhancement of identity as well as awareness, you're invited to do so by reaching out to me on Instagram at Kite Raps or Facebook at Kite Smith. Thank you for tuning in to this show. And I am now going to introduce the featured guest. His name is Mr. Jack Eastgate. Hello, Jack. How are you?
Hey, good day. How are you?
I'm doing well. For those who are unaware of who you are, what can you tell me about yourself?
Thank you. I'm a full-time artist, originally from the Fiji Islands, and I met you and the crew when I left high school and moved to Oakland for about uh, 18 to 20 years. And there I studied graphic design and worked my way up through wayfinding and signage, and eventually got into murals, um, live painting, and anything I can paint on, I'll get on to it.
Oh, I'm glad that you have discovered an activity that you're passionate about. And I am also happy that you and I met. I think I value our relationship, and I hope that you will experience continued success in your professionalism, in the industry that you're a professional in. And also, I'm going to ask because now I realize uh, it seems like you're a little bit distant. If you wouldn't mind speaking up a little bit louder so that listeners could hopefully hear you a little bit better. And so now, the next question I want to ask you is, what is your perspective of growth?
Growth. Um, one of the things that I've learned over the years. Can you hear me? Is volume a little better?
A little bit louder.
A little bit louder.
Right there, right there.
There, I'll move in a bit closer. I'm
Okay.
on this converted bus that's becoming the art studio slash office, and so it's still a work in progress.
Wow.
Um, what do I understand about growth? One of the things that really stood out to me when you asked that question to me last week ago, and to think about it, was the ability to let things be. Um, in the sense that I can't control everything,
Hmm.
and sometimes things go in different directions that you had wanted, that you had intended, and that's life. And there's a part of being able to really just let it be. And that's a profound thing that has I'm in a way still learning and still trying to allow things to happen naturally without forcing it. There is the hustle and trying to find the work and grow in those directions. Um, but as a person, as an individual, as a father, all of these um, hats that you have to wear every day. When you wake up and go to sleep, is how did I grow? How did I evolved from yesterday, and learning to not be as hard on myself uh, for not having full control of all the outcomes in life, and um, yeah. I think that's what I understand, or how I view growth, and mentally, spiritually, physically. As an artist, the growth is always pushing yourself, always trying to better yourself from the day before, and always trying to learn new things, trying to experiment, and trying to be closer to yourself, your spirit, to God, to the family, and yeah, I think growth. It's a very big. We can expand on growth for hours. How do you condense it down into something that's um, yeah. I think the most part is just pushing myself further than before. Um, Recently, I went on a 13-day water fast,
Hmm.
and that for me was um, incredibly revealing in terms of habits and behavior that sometimes you don't even know you have, until you all you're doing is water. And you really got to check yourself, and you got to be aware. And it's definitely an experience that brings you closer to the spirit, to God, to yourself. um, when you're going about in the world, you have to be very mindful and very aware, um, of yourself, of emotions. If you are someone who's quick to anger, uh, these emotions can drain. It can set the whole day, and it's it's one of those things that I have to be very aware of now that I'm off of it. And hey, dude, thank you, buddy. It's hot. Thanks, kiddo.
You're welcome.
It's my son Suliano. He brought me some coffee.
Daddy,
Yeah, yeah, kiddo.
how did you learn how this works yet?
Not yet, son.
That's been more than a week.
See you, dude. Thank you. And yeah, the biggest thing for me is, how do I become a better father? How do I parent better? How do I unlearn things that I've developed over the years, in the 42 years of my life? Um, yeah.
I
Go.
appreciate your insight, and it is what you've expressed thus far is relatable. Going back to your initial expression, which was uh, growth is letting things be, and also how are in, in, intentional about refining your behaviors compared to how you used to be regarding wanting to control external experiences. And I think for me, the first step in you achieving this goal long term is to acknowledge what needs to change. And so hopefully through your intentionality and actions to not engage in attempting to control external experiences, your efforts will be supported from the source or God. And also, you'll be provided with more insight and guidance on how you can maintain that pattern of letting things be. So, yeah, I'm glad that you are able to have that awareness and refine yourself in that way, which to me is indicative of growth. So, thank you for that.
Um, um, there are times where I feel like I'm 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and that step back is the one that I have to be careful not to, what's the word, down myself too much, or be extra critical, because I have to also acknowledge the 2 steps in that other direction.
Mm-hmm.
And what's that saying? Be careful of your thoughts; they could become your actions. Be careful of your actions; they become your behavior. Careful of your behavior; they become your character.
Yes.
Um, yeah, and so it's, I think about that often, and how how I want to be, how I want my son to view me, how I want him to remember his childhood, and who I was, and yeah, how I responded. It was quite a challenge. First, I mean, I guess I should have done this in the stars. First and foremost, um, give credit to the ThE, or the indigenous Fijians, which this land which I'm inhabiting at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely want to acknowledge the indigenous Fijians of Fiji, and their Vanua, or their land.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that on my father's side, um, his maternal links are from a province called ThE, Namena, and that's the relationship there. Sprinkle in some Samoan and some English, and then my mother is American, but she's Panamanian Irish. But first and foremost, I'd like to acknowledge the the land which I'm able to create and reside in.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, growth.
And my next question, Jack, is how are you currently growing?
How am I currently growing? Getting up at 5 in the morning is a nice one. After doing the fast and really checking the consumption, uh, you just need to be a bit more aware. How am I currently growing? That is that is a good question. There are a lot of things that I've sort of put a pause on. There was a moment there where I was numbing,
Mm-hmm.
numbing issues that I wasn't really wanting to face, whether with alcohol or substances. And after the fast, completely cutting that out. And it's been about 2 months now, and it's nice. It's refreshing. I mean, there's certainly the habitual things like that I don't think I'd ever give up, with like coffee, um, or kava. Kava is the indigenous relaxing plants of the South Pacific and Fiji as well. It's a drink that's deeply rooted in tradition and culture,
Mm-hmm.
and it has its place in in a formal setting and in the very informal setting where it's a root, and it's grown minimum of 3 years. The better, the stronger, more potent. Gets up to 7, 12 years growing. And you uproot it, dry it, and pound it, and then mix it with water. And I have my little one here, which every now and then I like to have a few bowls, and it's a wonderful plant, herb. Um, it's very relaxing. It's good on. It's a de-stressor. It's good for relaxing the muscles, clarity. A lot of my art or creative processes happens when I'm drinking kava, and I definitely recommend it to everybody. It's non-alcoholic. The Latin name is Pipermethicium, and in some ways it's related to the pepper plant.
Mm-hmm.
And some people might say it's an acquired taste, but I love it. It's very earthy, very uh, rooty. That's
Yeah.
a word. Um, and I'll finish my coffee first, and then I'll have some kava. Um, but yeah, how else am I growing? Um, if you see behind me, this is an old bus that's been the seats have all been gutted out, and I've just fixed the walls and the flooring, and this is a new desk that's I've installed 20 minutes before I jumped on into the shower and got onto this call. Uh, yeah. Um, how am I growing? Really being aware of thoughts. Thoughts can be, if you let them run, they can wreck your day if you're if you're not paying attention. If letting small things. Yeah, what a family member of mine used to always say, "Don't sweat the small stuff." And yeah, I've taken to the heart over the years and tried to apply that to life in terms of growth. Uh,
I have a
yeah.
question.
Yes.
It regarding kava, is it considered a narcotic or substance? And yeah, that's the question. Is it considered a narcotic or a substance, at least in America?
Nope. It's not on the schedule. It's there are quite a few kava bars in California, all around the US. It's becoming
Mm-hmm.
very popular. My temporary curtain is falling down on me. One sec. Um, it's there's a good friend of mine has a kava bar in Oakland.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Mellow Mellow.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna take that off. The sun's gone down, it's beaming in there. Um, no, it's not. It's not a narcotic. Um, over the years, coffee is a drug. It's
Mm-hmm.
tea, tobacco, cannabis. Everything is in those realms. Personally, I
Mm-hmm.
consider uh, a drug in the sense that it activates the mind, it activates certain senses, it makes a person feel elevated. You stop somebody, or you restrict somebody who really loves their coffee at 7 in the morning, and and they're an unhappy person. If coffee is not not available, or uh, someone forgot to buy the coffee the day before, and so kava in that aspect is a drug in the sense that it stimulates certain parts of the body, and if it relaxes, if it gives you energy, if it allows you to focus, to study, anything that is, psychoactive. Psycho is, by definition, is mind and activate. So anything that activates the mind.
Mhm.
Food, certain foods. You eat a big spoonful of cayenne pepper and your body is activated. Certain glands start kicking in and you start sweating, and there some people might experience certain emotions. Uh, but yeah, but kava, because it's so rooted in culture,
Mhm.
because there's protocol, there's there's reverence, there's respect, there is, especially, a lot of the Pacific islands. The Fijian word for it is Yangona, which is Yaqona, and the Tongans call it kava or ava. I think it's the Hawaiians that say ava. They drop the K, so kava is one of the many names in use, and so the peoples of Hawaii, Samoa, Tonga, Vanuatu, Fiji um, use kava, whether ceremoniously, medicinally, and in Fiji, you go to someone's house, or if you're going someplace where there's the cities or towns in Fiji, and if you go to the more uh, traditional settings or the villages, and you need something or you need to request something, you usually take what is called a sebu sebu, which is your offering, and that's usually a bundle of kava, and that is presented, and dialogue is exchanged. The request is um, asked of, and it's that important.
Mhm.
And on a regular setting, if you were to go to somebody's house, you'd have 4 or 5 guys or friends or people there, and kava would be just mixed, and if you're not careful, you'll be leaving at 4 in the morning and feeling a little relaxed, and uh, it's not a yeah yeah it's too I mean too much of everything is not a good thing, but it's definitely something that I hold dear to my heart. It's just how I was brought up around it, treating it with respect. Um, yeah, there's a whole culture and vibe around kava.
Okay. Thank you. And regarding how you were brought up, how did your parents meet, given that your mother is from the United States and your dad was in Fiji?
Yes, so um, my dad, when he was younger youth, in his late teens, he was very interested in the hospitality and trade profession,
Mhm.
and was working in hotels and whatnot, and he got the chance to go study uh, what's that university in San Francisco down south? San
San
Francisco
Francisco State.
State. He went, I'm not sure how long, but he had a few semesters studying culinary arts, and he got a job at this restaurant in San Francisco on Fisherman's Wharf, Aliotos. Not
Hmm.
sure if it's still there, maybe. And he was. This is the story they tell us, right? The great romance. But he peered through the portal to the door to the kitchen, and he saw my mum and uh, my grandmother having dinner, and he's like, "That's the one." And I don't know. He jokes sometimes. He's like, I convinced her that I was a Fijian prince and moved back to Fiji with me. Yeah, so that was some 50, 60 years ago.
Hmm.
And they moved back. They took a boat from from San Francisco to Fiji. So that was a long, long journey back then. And yeah, they moved here, and they got into the restaurant business, and they started the one and only floating restaurant that's here in the capital, Tico's Floating Restaurant.
Mm.
Uh, it's still there, but they sold the restaurant business in about 26 years ago in 2000. You know, because it's an actual boat, and it floats, and it's moored uh, to the waterfront there. And so, you know, not only is it a restaurant, which if restaurant business is no joke, it's a lot of work. It's an actual boat that you have to maintain so that it stays afloat.
Hmm.
And yeah, they did that for about 16, 17 years, and then retired, and in the interior, Naita, Syria, where they currently are residing right now on their little farm. And so now it's a beautiful life where they are. They get water from the creek. They have the fixed solar and hydro, and uh, sur- surrounded by mountains and forests, and it's stunning out there. So yeah, that's long story short. I'm the youngest of four. Uh, I have my oldest sister. She's still in the U.S. I have a oldest brother that's living here in Suva, and I have another brother in New Zealand.
Wow, interesting. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing the your the insight regarding your family history. And another question I'm curious to know regarding your family history is I noticed your name is Eastgate, which seems to be an English last name, and so um, so
Yeah,
like, do you know the family history regarding, like, because I think you had said your father is of Fijian, native Fijian heritage, correct?
part. So
Part, right.
the Fijian word for indigenous is itoke.
Mm-hmm.
I would be considered Kailoma, which is of mixed race.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Maybe 7, 8 generations ago,
Mm-hmm.
English chap came down this way, met a Fijian lady in Tailevu, and they married, and then that was the start of the Fijian generation. So he was an Eastgate, and
Mm-hmm.
yes, it's very very English for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Fortunately, Fiji was is a post colony of
Hmm.
the uh, it was a British colony and became independent in, I believe it was 1970. So
Hmm.
it's a fairly young republic in a way, I think, democratic
Yeah.
republic. Um, and with colonization, there's lots of problems, and uh, I'd like to acknowledge that there's I like, especially living in the U.S. Like when I moved there when I was 18, I was really unaware of how things were.
Hmm.
America has such a reach all over the world, but a lot of the times that experience or perception of the US is through videos or movies or music. And, uh, I was very naive in the actualities of colonization, and the I remember in high school the history books were very uh, were giving a lot of praise to colonization and the British and things like that because of uh, there's the introduction of Christianity, and to a lot of people who hold Christianity as the core to their belief. That's I'm not gonna speak down on Christianity, but that was one of the things that were introduced or reintroduced, because there's a fascinating thing about Fiji is when the early British migrants settlers came, you know Fijians were practicing circumcision, and which is an Abrahamic, uh, the Jewish, Muslim, or Christian is an Abrahamic practice, and Fiji was in those times was given uh, had the I don't know if it was a stereotype because it probably did happen was cannibalism, and and they attribute the arrival of the British to stopping those practices and the introductions of others. But at the same time, there are other things that you know the the residual of colonization. Uh, Fiji, after moving back, Fiji is a very expensive place. Minimum wage here is $5 an hour,
Well,
which which what's the U.S. 725? Last time I recalled,
in California.
federally is seven. I
Oh,
know California. I think was like when I started work there, I was getting 10 an hour. I was like, I'm balling until I had to pay
yeah.
until I lived there 6 months, and I was like, oh, $10 an hour is I need three jobs now to survive and to pay rent and everything like that. But yeah, that's in there's there are these there are still a lot of problems that Fiji is uh, is still coming to terms with. Colorism is a big thing here. One of the tactics of colonization was divide and conquer. You get two brown people to fight against each other, and the system works as it's intended. And unfortunately, there's still some things like that happen. Um, I took a little tangent here.
That's
Where
okay.
where were we?
W- w- we were talking about your surname,
Oh,
your last name.
my surname. Yes, there, and I feel I have the right, as with some British English heritage, to critique and to I acknowledge that I am mixed, right? That's just a part of me. That's my life. Uh, but also, there's one thing to not uh, to recognize the systems that are in play,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, to acknowledge it, to which gives you the ability to call it out when it happens, to if you can recognize it. And sometimes people just, that's normal, like, no, sorry, that's that's from this system that's in play. uh, but yeah, so I do have English heritage, uh, which there's there's subcultures everywhere, right? And uh, there's Kailomas here. There are people of Indian descent that were brought over by the British, who are now, you know, several generations in, and Fijian at heart, and and culturally, and because of Fiji's location, the one of the main universities. There are a lot of other Pacific Islanders here, and so it's a
Mm-hmm.
very diverse country, right? And the three main languages are Fijian, Hindi, and English.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and yeah, so Eastgate is a very English name.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I enjoy learning family history, and it also helps me to enhance my perspective of the guests if they also enjoy sharing that, because it is one way or the one way or another, it is a part of our identity. So thank you for that, and I hope that similar to in the United States, there will be unification and harmony amongst all inhabitants of the island,
For sure.
with willfulness and hopefully spiritual guidance. My next question, Jack, is what inspired you to become a visual artist?
Yeah. Before that, I answer that question, this is a kava bowl.
Hmm.
It's half of a coconut shell that's been smoothed down. That's the typical traditional way of having kava bula, and you usually clap before to show respects. But what inspired what inspired me to become an artist? Is that your question? Was that your
Yes.
question? I've always wanted to. I've always drawn as a kid. Uh, Unfortunately, which is something that I'm slowly working on changing, is like a lot of places, the arts are not considered important, and
Hmm.
sometimes they're seen as a privilege. And you know, when I was in school, uh, there was there was no art classes offered until I transferred to my last 2.5 years of high school at uh, a private high school, international school, uh, which was a privilege for sure. But they offered art and a wide range of other activities that just completely blew my mind. And drawing, painting, and it was a part of my grade. So the as a kid, all my notebooks to the this taste of my teachers had drawings and doodles, and but for me that was how I focused and how I comprehended things. I'd always sit there and I would doodle. Um, it my parents on another level are very creative, not in the traditional sense of painting or drawing, but they build things and they make things from scratch. And the house that they live in, my dad built, and the restaurant was built from salvaging things and learning how to weld and put things together, and like hard work. And creativity is just problem solving. It's it you could be a creative mathematician, you could be a creative uh, scientist. It's a lot of times when we think about creativity, we think, oh, this person's a painter, a writer, a poet. uh, and so I've always wanted to pursue that. That was something that I liked doing on my spare time. And when I got to high school, uh, they call it technical drawing, which is like the start or the career path to architecture, which in my mind was the only route to sort of develop this thing that I was interested in. And there wasn't really anything that there wasn't anything else. And it was only until I got to the private high school that I did art classes, and where it was part of my grade, and I really was like, this, I want to become an artist. And my parents were hardworking business people for years, and was able to feed the family, send us to school. Take it up. Can you give me a second, okay? Send us to school, and so they weren't really sure. They were like, no, son. When I told them, I was like, Dad, I'm gonna become an artist. Like, no, and which was good, because that just fueled the stubbornness even more. I'm like, no, I'm gonna prove them I'm gonna become an artist, and this is what I'm gonna do. And so my focus in high school was art focus, even though it was my lowest grade when I graduated. And then right after that, I transferred I moved to the US, and to Oakland, and I had to wait a year. Hey, kiddo, I'll see you up in a bit, okay? And hold on. And I went to Laney College, and that that was the this is the Fiji flag, by the way. He wants to show this off with the infamous Union Jack in the corner there. Um, but it was yes, son.
Who's this?
That's mine. But hey, son, I'm on a call right now. Can you give me a second and I'll get to you?
Okay.
All right.
A second, Daddy. Daddy, a second turning
A second is up. Yes, the literalness of a kid's thought processes. Um, but the thing that I wanted to do was graphic design, which I thought was like that's business, that's also art, that's creative. I can do that. And while at Laney, I got to experience all the classes, and I was just blown away. Figure drawing, illustration, color theory, typography, and I eventually transferred over after Laney. I went to Cal State Hayward, which is now Cal State East Bay, and that's when I started all the more design, design like graphics and photography, printmaking, and doing all these kind of projects that would gear me towards my bachelor of graphic design. Hey, son, I can't talk to you, okay? Let's go see Mama. And while I was at Laney, not Laney, sorry, at Cal State Hayward, I went to the cafe and saw a band playing there, and I took my sketchbook, I sketched them, and I showed the lady, and she was like, "Yo, you should contact this guy. His name's Ateem Genzira." That was 2005, and I messaged him, and I was like, "Hey, bro, this lady told me to. She's a singer. She told me to contact you. She said you have an event." And he asked me, "Have you done live painting before?" And I kind of lied a little and said, "Yeah, I have." Yes. And he's like, "Cool, I got this event. It's a Haiti fundraiser. I think when they had that big earthquake, I think it was 2006 or 7. And I was like, "This is the dates. Show up." And I'm like, click. All right, cool. Now, what's live painting? Like, oh no, what I get myself into? And so I find a drop cloth. I was renting in Oakland, and I raided my roommate's little shed and just got all the bunch of random house paints. And I showed up to his event, and he had me set up on this mezzanine up on the top, and there was performances, there was people spitting fire. This was like this was in West Oakland before West Oakland was West Oakland and what it is now, right? Like, they had all these bands, they had these sculptures, people juggling, and I was like, I found my people. So he put me up on this mezzanine. I nailed this thing to the wall, and I just started. This is the first time I'm on a canvas. Normally I'm pen and paper, or pencil, or doing something graphical. And the event ended at 12:30 in the morning, and he brought me coffee at 8 a.m. because I was still on this canvas. I was just like,
Wow.
"What is this?" And that was a good. It was almost 18 hours straight where I was just
Wow.
in it. And everything sort of like disappeared. People had broken down the stage. You came and set up some music, and I was like, this is it. And so that was sort of like the start of my live painting journey,
Yeah.
where I really got to learn about paint because it's very different. Like a computer screen is RGB, right? And paints is a different color system, CMYK, like a printer, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. And there's no, like, a screen has light that comes from it. It's projected, and so there's different rules. There's no command Z, undo, right? That you like a commit, you gotta fix it. And I kind of like that pressure of being in a crowd. Did you ever go to the People's Party in Oakland? They used to have it,
I
New Parish.
I think I did go. I think I went there once when you did a live painting. And yeah, I think you were on the top floor, on the second floor.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, the stage with all the DJs, and these DJs were cool, man. They like had boxes of vinyl, and then I did the People's Party for a good 4 years.
Mm.
Every month I'll be there, and it was cool because there was another painter. It was Noah, this Japanese guy. He would post up on the other side, and we'd get there early, set up. Uh, Go have some greens downstairs and get to it at 10 o'clock, and it was a vibe. But it was cool too because the I have a tendency to start a lot of projects and, and bounce and go
Mhm.
in, and the live painting, that pressure of, okay, the event ends at this time. I've got six to, depending on how long the event is. There's events where it was a 3 day festival, and I'm painting, or it's a 4 hours, or it's six, or it's eight. And that pressure was really great because it really forced me to, like, this is, you're here. There's no the you people saw you start this painting. There's 400 people that saw this blank canvas, and they're now this is just going in my head. They're now expecting you to finish by 2 p.m. 2 a.m., right? But I love that, and it really, I afterwards I tried to be in the studio by myself and paint, and then next minute I'm sweeping the floor, I'm outside in the garden, I'm cutting the grass, and then 4 hours later I'm like, oh damn, I have this commission I gotta do. Um, but in the live paint session, that pressure, I really loved it. So I over the years I created a huge body of work just from painting live, uh, which which was great. That was so yeah. Let's backtrack here. Your question was, what started the creativity? What did you always want to? What was your inspiration?
What
What was your
inspired you to become a painter?
What inspired me? Gosh, Fiji is a beautiful country. I can have all these criticisms of it, and the colonization and all that stuff, but it is such a beautiful country, and the majority of people here are beautiful people too. Uh, there's a lot of kindness. There's a lot of generosity. There's a lot of there's a lot of giving there, and all cultures. And it rains a lot. It's a tropical island, tropical paradise, uh, and so if you see behind me banana trees, and just surrounded by greenery, which has its downsides because if you're not on top of it, your stuff will start to mold because we live in the clouds right here. Um, but Fiji was a big part of that inspiration. That growing up with all the colors, the flowers, the leaves, the which if you see some of my work, that is uh, that's what I draw from.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and it was I had sort of started developing that style in the US, but I think it was until I returned home that people really appreciated that because of being able to relate to it. When I in my that first live painting piece up on that mezzanine, it was buildings and power lines, and it was very urban. And which is a funny thing. The power lines actually developed into the vines that you see now, that a lot of people will have come to recognize, like, oh, that's Jack's work, because I love drawing vines. I like to see how things hang. And there is actually a vine here, this massive vine that grows in the jungle. If you cut it, and you can drink pure water from it. It's
Whoa.
so good. I forget the name of it, but it's one of those things about Fiji. So that inspired me. The people inspired me. That really like got me. It made me aware of the beauty in the world. Fiji's a beautiful place. The U.S. is a beautiful place. California is a beautiful place. Lots of beautiful people. Unfortunately, they got some problems. Every place has their problems. Some more, what. That's why I moved back. It's like, I, I'd rather deal with the problems in Fiji. They seem a little bit more manageable. And definitely like coming to Oakland. Oakland was I moved there in 2003 before it became a bit popped, right? Or gentrified, or however the term is. Uh, Oakland was cool. Oakland had had rough edges and class and culture and uh, yeah, and I loved Oakland. Um, and
I'm
yeah,
glad you I'm glad you had an opportunity to experience California, specifically Oakland, which seems to also, when it comes to visual arts and artistry in general, parallel the the arts that the artistries and creativities of Fiji. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And also, what I want to talk about too, going back to your live painting experience and how seemingly life is holistic or interconnected. When I posted the thumbnail for this episode, as well as posted the advertisement on Instagram, I was approached by a friend as well as a coworker who asked me the question. She said, "How do you know Jack?" And I said, "Oh, he's a friend of mine." And this person, her name, she said, well, firstly, she told me, she said, I've done live paintings with him, paint shows with him. And I was like, oh, wow. And so this person that I'm referring to, her name is Lisa, also known as Lisa Pisa. And
oh yeah, I love Lisa. She's cool, good peoples. I also worked with her too. She was my assistant manager at Pete's Coffee for a good minute.
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I love her work. Her work is cool.
I agree. Yeah, I'm glad you had opportunity to establish a relationship with her. She also, speaks highly of you. So, yeah, things are interconnected.
Good people.
And so now what I want to ask you about is you did establish a business, and that business, and if you can help me with the pronunciation, is it Wairoka Studios. Is that how you
Yeah.
pronounce it?
Rocket Studios. Yeah, that's how it's pronounced. Um, my son's mom actually was the one that came up with that name, and Y means water, and Roca in the essence is color, so it's kind of like watercolors,
Mm-hmm.
and so that was kind of how the vibe that we were trying to go for. But yeah, for the last, because we moved back here in 2002. Wow, it was a wild time, eh? COVID, that was crazy. But yeah, we moved back here in 2002, and I just hit the ground running, and uh, I had a couple of contracts doing wayfinding and signage with a couple of companies in the US still, which was nice, to sort of like get established. And, then somebody uh, we became friends. Is a really cool um, fashion designer, and he had a shop in town. He's like, "Hey, bro, can you do a mural?" And I was like, "Yeah, good." So I started there, and then the second one there was this popular cafe, Kava Bar, and it just started to sort of steamroll, which was great because the work in the US slowly tapered out,
Mm-hmm.
and um, yeah, since then, uh, 1500 about 1500 square meters of murals, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and I've completed Fiji's biggest mural that's in the interior in the bush, and that was a huge uh, process, and it's one of the projects that almost made me reconsider my career as an artist. Uh, that was growth. Like, no, I gotta stick to it. I've committed. This is what I'm doing, and I finished it. And there's you guys are in feet, right? So a meter is about 3 feet.
Yes.
There's this one part of the project was 45 meters,
Mm-hmm.
35 meters, and 45 meters with a 2 meter band. It's about 6 feet high,
Yeah.
and this water reservoir. Uh, and yeah, so the I sort of it was a there's some wild pigeons outside that just flew up into this tree here. We get parrots coming through here all the time. Uh, the while I was in Oakland the last few years, I got to work at this firm, this wayfinding firm. I have to sneeze real quick. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and really developed my professionalism.
Mm-hmm.
At this wayfinding firm, we had to present these multi-million-dollar projects all over the world, which no pressure if you're coming in as a junior designer and then learning the ropes, because I didn't know anything about wayfinding, and I was a graphic designer, and I showed my principal at the time some of my work, and he was like, okay, I can see that you would grow into this, and 67 years in that, which was great. And they're creating presentations that were 50 to 200 pages, and having to present these to the clients, and go through the documents and explain reasons. Like, one of the one of the things that I learned was saying no, which which is a skill, a lot of saying no, and here's why, right? We I'm now committed to this professionalism I use with my clients, and the presentation of the documents and say, okay, I'm gonna give you 2 to 3 concepts. I'm gonna take a look at your branding, the existing architecture, the colors, your interior design. What's the color of your tiles, the walls, the paint, uh, all of these things, and what's your business about, right? Like I go to a deep dive into that, and that allows me to create 2 to 3 concepts, which then the clients can choose. Say, oh, I
Mm.
like this concept, but I like a little bit of the concept too. Some revisions, combine the two. There's the concept, and now install the mural, and that that level of professionalism wasn't here yet because there's just no there isn't the foundations here. And so when I got back, I just meeting people, new artists, and we'd get together over kava and like, okay, I'll bring out my laptop and I'll say, this is how I create my presentation. Now I'll explain to them, okay, this is what we do. What's your email? I'm gonna send you my generic contract so that take a look at it. These are the questions you need to ask your clients. Because in a place that doesn't value art, a lot of the time artists can get taken advantage of.
Hmm.
Uh, and there is a misconception. Oh, you're an artist. You just sit there and draw. Why do I have to pay you this much, right? You're not going to negotiate with your uh, plumber and say, why am I paying you this much, right? Because of the skill. And I wanted to share and really grow Fiji's art scene. Now Fiji already had established artists and who are my elders, the senior art crew, and who I look up to and definitely admire their work, and a lot of respect to what they've done to keep art alive here in Fiji. Um, but and there really isn't a lot of foundation for that. Right now I'm in the works in conversations with the universities here, trying to see, because also part of my background is teaching art or
Hmm.
teaching graphics, and trying to get more programs. And the nice thing about Fiji is that it's so small. The population is less than a million, and that means the degree of separation is close to none to ministers, to people in work in the government, or policymakers, and those that can make change and say, hey, this is I think they started to do it, but art is should be in public schools. It should be a graded subject. It should be offered to students from first grade or class one all the way to graduating high school. Uh, and when when I first moved back, a lot of the artists were burnt out because of the culture of sort of like not really appreciating art and the effort that goes into creating something. And some people think, oh, it's just your natural gift. Like, why do I have to pay you what you're asking for? Uh,
Excuse me, Jack. I want to ask you one quick question because we are reaching that 9 o'clock hour.
yeah,
Are you able to go over? Because I am enjoying the conversation, or do you think we should?
so I can go over. It's fine.
Okay, okay. I just didn't
Yeah.
want to. Okay, you can continue.
Um, yeah, like there are Fiji. Fiji is such a talented country. There's so
Hmm.
much talent here. There's the musicians that come out of here, the music, the dance, uh, the arts. But unfortunately, a lot of the times the arts, the traditional arts like carving or what they call tapa or masi, where they do stencils on this cloth fiber that's made from a tree that they pound out and make this tapa. And when they print on it, it's now masi. And that's where you have the traditional designs and patterns, and a lot of times they're very specific to provinces or islands or villages. A lot of times they're labeled handicraft, and as soon as you label something handicraft, the value of it is lowered, and so I think there's a need to sort of change that perception of art. It's not a privilege, but it's a necessary part of everyday life. Uh, yeah, because nowadays we just consume a lot. Whether we got our phone, we're on Netflix, the food or whatever. There's just a lot of consumption, and it's art is one of those things that really slows you down, stops, so that you can view and consume something that, or take in something that had a lot of heart or thought put to it. Um,
Well,
yeah.
given that, what I want to ask you, which I relate to you in terms of how art can slow you down because it helps you to grow your authentic identity by engaging in a naturalistic activity. And since I am an advocate of the philosophy, action becomes identity, how is engaging in painting enhancing your identity?
I was engaging in painting and enhancing my identity. Still working on what the identity is, for sure.
Hmm.
Uh, because I spent most of my life, my adult life, in the US. I left when I was 18 and I returned 4 years ago. I was 38.
Hmm.
Uh, and so identity, it's Fiji's, as I was saying, Fiji's a small country. It's like, oh, you're Jack the artist, or you're Jack the painter. Uh, I heard of you, or, and so, uh, I don't know. I wouldn't say identity as a painter, but as a creative, as like I said, right? Like an artist is a problem solver, and uh, it's something I like to do. It's something I'm gonna continue doing as long as I can, to support myself, to support the family. Uh, Artists as painting is one form of creativity that I feel I've gotten the hang of, or uh, understood the theory so that it can be applied in practice. Uh, I I certainly see the value of it, of art for the public, right? Like whenever I'm installing murals in town, there'd be busloads of kids just like, like wow, after school, and that just makes the heart so full, right? It's like, okay, it's having the impact that I had intended it to have, right? It's my goal. There is, I try not have it be too much of a ego trip where, oh, I'm the fame or whatever, or that's his work, or but I in a way want to give back to the privilege of having been of growing up in Fiji. That was such a privilege for me. Being born here, being going to school, meeting people, the experience was amazing, and you know, I remember coming to Oakland and seeing Dan Fonta's work, the giant giraffes. Do you remember that in Oakland on the cut? He recently passed. It was like last month, but the paintings of the giraffes and the zebras in
Mm-hmm.
Oakland, and there's the MLK under the 580 overpass there over on Lakeshore, and that wasn't my experience in Fiji. I never saw murals like that. I know, uh, even though there was one that I first experienced in my later life that was done in the 60s by one of the contemporaries of Diego Rivera. It's called the Black Christ. It's this beautiful fresco in this church, about a 2-hour drive from here. But I didn't know about that. That wasn't on my radar. And then coming to Oakland, walking past murals, meeting the artist. What's his name? Pancho Pescador. Uh, seeing his work, and he's prolific, right? Like Oakland, if you walk through the streets, there's so much art on the walls. Even San Francisco, but that's San Francisco. You need to catch a train. San Francisco, San Francisco. Uh, I love Oakland much better. Uh,
I would
and
I would I would say, based on what you said so far, in terms of your identity through your expressionism, reflecting on what you had, your commentary regarding the mural that you found to be quite challenging due to its length, which measured, hundreds of feet. If we were to convert it into the foot system from the metric system, and how there was a point where you questioned if you should continue in commencing and engaging, finishing this mural. Though you did. So from that intentionality and through your actions, I would theorize that you have enhanced your identity in terms of having an awareness of how resilient you are. Would you agree with that?
I'd like to think I'm a resilient person, yeah. But I just have to note that wall that I had mentioned, the hundreds of feet, it wasn't the scope of the work. Like I'm glad my parents were hardworking people and passed that on to me. Hey, you give me 5,000 square meters, I'll do it easy. Um, Give me a 10,000 square meter mural, no problem. I'll give you time. I'll calculate it. I'd love to do it.
Hmm.
The thing that was hard was the other aspects of a mural, which are important aspects, is the clients, the the scope wasn't the problem. It was having to do with human interactions and people and miscommunication. It was an active. It was still being built, and so that's why it took longer. There were parts of that mural that were accidentally destroyed. Um,
Wow.
yeah, there one hundreds of square feet of murals got painted over because of miscommunication, and and that's why I said, I was like, do I need to do I need to change careers because this hurts? This like is cutting the soul right here.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, like being able to say no, I'm committed. This happened. Move on. Shift gears. No, and in particularly that one, I had given them a 3 month timeline. It took me another 6 months. So all in
Mm-mm.
total, it's about 9 months of work,
Mm.
and having to navigate shifting foundations, and they have to fix the wall, which means they have to rip a hole in the wall and patch it up, and oh whoops, there's a mural there. But it's structural, and you can just paint it. And so having those kind of things, yeah, there has to be a level of resilience, because then it's not the first time it's happened, and I'm glad that that big one was the first, because every other one has been like, that sucks, but oh well. Like I had it was last month, 2 months ago. There was a big wall. It was about 80 square meters.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and the tenants, my clients, who were the tenants of this building, had moved to a new location, and so the owners had hired a crew to refresh the place, right? And so miscommunication, the crew not understanding that, hey, this is a hand painted mural. This took work, or this took this X, Y, and Z. I should probably not paint on it, or if I've been directed, I should verify with my boss. Like, are you sure you want me to paint this? This looks like it's it's hand painted. It's beautiful, right? But none of that happened, and white paint. Uh, 88 square meters of wall was just covered in 2 days, and you know people who lived around it or experienced it were upset. They were like, "What you? How?" People were messaging me like, "Bro, what happened to your wall? Why? No, why?"
Yeah.
They were upset because there was something that they had come to enjoy, that was part of the neighborhood. And the thing with murals, they've done studies, is that it makes people happier. It changes people's perceptions.
Mm-hmm.
Businesses get about a 40% increase in foot traffic because they have artwork on the outside. People stop, people take pictures, selfies, or they're driving by like, hey, what's that? There's something that draws them into that location, and then hey, they're gonna come into the store, buy something, or just visit. But uh, civic pride increases. The place is kept cleaner. Uh, there's something happens to the population, and uh, that's one of the reasons why I do it. Besides it making me, whenever I paint, I feel good. I feel a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
You when you oh wow, here's a teal color. Oh wow, look at that red when you put right next to it. That does something. This is the color theories. When you put certain colors together, they vibrate, and it's like music.
Wow.
If people play music, guitar, piano, whatever, there's almost a mathematical formula to it. That like a lot of songs have G, C, and D as the chord progression,
Mm-hmm.
and it's this nice little triangle. And it's the same thing with art. It's colors have a vibration. Colors, that's why some people can hear colors. Some people can see sound. Uh, it's because they have a frequency. Like the Hindus have the chart, right? The chakras. Have you seen that, where there's
Yes.
someone in meditation, and the seven colors, right?
Yes.
Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. The seven colors, you got the seven colors of the rainbow, right? And if you do music, you have your seven major tones plus one, which is eight, which makes your octave, right? And so do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, seven, and then back up to do, right? And they they have an effect on people. That's why fast food companies love using red, yellow, and orange. Those are the lower parts of the chakra, lower vibration. Uh, they're in charge of driving survival, hunger, passion. And no, it's true. You look, McDonald's, Wendy's, all these fast food places, In and Out, they use these colors because they know what that does to human psychology. You
Hmm.
wouldn't, like, if it would be a bad idea to paint all your walls red. If you were, you would probably just be an angrier person. But if you painted one small wall red, like a little accent, a little pop, it's nice. It has this vibe. There's harmony, right? That's why hospitals. You go into a hospital, it's all white because it gives the perception of sterile or purity. If you go, a lot of times, psychiatric wards or places that deal with the mind, a lot of the times their walls are green because green has this calming effect on the body, and they want people to have this experience. Uh, Yeah, very colors very much affect your mood or your vibe, and the same with sound. And yeah, you can get into a mathematical formula with colors and have uh, have a whole tangent on the mathematics of color and art. Um, Three colors put together, four colors put together, um, some relationship to, like, in music there's a circle of fifths where uh, five notes and how they're arranged and how they create a harmony, and and it can certainly do the opposite, right? um, you watch a scary movie, they'll play certain keys together that kind of make you feel uneasy, like, "Ugh, this is something's bad gonna happen," and it's because they've arranged, it's intentionally arranged to create what's not disharmony, yeah, disharmony in a way. And that's why, like, sometimes if people haven't studied color theory or the theory side of art, they could be an awesome illustrator. You add some colors, but it'd be like, that's not sitting right with me because these colors are now in conflict. Uh,
I want to say, firstly, I just am astonished and amazed at how vast your knowledge is regarding the I like to use the dimensions of color and um, sound as well, and that to me is indicative that you are on a path of discovery, and hopefully what you are engaging in is also of resource to you rather than just it simply being knowledge. So that's pretty amazing. And what I want to do is show some of the audience some of your works so that they can enhance their perspective visually. So I'm going to go to the next scene. So I think for the sake of time, um, I think we can briefly touch on. There's three photographs, and so we can talk about them hopefully in detail, but also in a consolidated manner as well. So, Jack, what can you tell me about this photo?
Yeah, this was the second iteration of this mural. I had done one first for them a few years ago, and then they wanted a new one. And I had sort of developed more of my style and color palettes and color theory and all those things. And this is in Tapo City, which is this pretty cool sort of retail area space, and up in the food court. And this is the first time, and I think I've left it with them, but using that navy blue background.
Mm,
That's that when my friend who works there suggested it because they had extra of this color. I was like, let me do my concept, which the colors and the plants and everything else were part of my palette. And I love colors. I love using all colors.
mhm,
I love how, and if you understand color theory, there are warm colors, there are cool colors. Like the warm colors would be orange, red, yellow. The
mhm,
cool colors would be green, blue, and purples, right? And when you put them next to each other, they stand out more. There's more contrast, like
mm,
that
mm,
orange flower on the top left there with some of the bluer leaves, right?
mhm.
It really pops. And then he made that suggestion. It's like, yo, why don't you try this navy blue as the background? I was like, let me mock it up in the uh, in the concept. And it was like, that's the one. That's what we're gonna do. And so we uh, we did that, and I was just, I'm every time I see it, I'm stunned as well, right? Like the that blue really pushes those colors forward more. And
Mm,
this is the only place I'm kind of trying to reserve it for them.
mhm.
But this is the only place where I've used that that blue. Um, oh, um, all right. Yeah. Can you give me one?
Yeah, yeah. So there were some unexpectancies. He is in the city of Fiji. I mean, he's in Suva City, and if you weren't aware, there's a lot of wildlife in the area there that he lives, and based on the audio, it seems like there might have been a dog.
Yeah. No, all good.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, that's pretty much this drawing here and that illustration, and I think it's that navy blue that really that made it pop more. It made it, it's one of my favorites.
I appreciate this one. I do enjoy this visual. It is visually stimulating to me. And if I had the opportunity to have such a piece, I would definitely put it somewhere like on a wall in my room. So, yeah, I like this one for sure. We're going to go to the next one. Okay. What can you tell me about this creation?
Yeah, so this one is at the Nadi International Airport, and it's one of my favorites as well. It's massive. If you can see on the bottom right-hand side that's a door.
Oh, wow.
Um, and so this one was nice because this is the first time I was able to use one of those electronic scissor lifts,
Mm-hmm.
and um, it made the work so much easier going, bzz, just up and down and driving this thing around, which was fun. Um, yeah, but just, you know, this one meant a lot to me because one of the things about being in the States was having to leave Fiji, having to go to the airport, having to say goodbyes, having to cry, to sob, and just like I'm going back to America. Oh my gosh, this is so hard,
Mm-hmm.
and and that really like stuck with me, and the I wanted people to have that sense of beauty before they got onto the plane and left, because there were so many times where I got this experience uh, here. This is at the departure lounge outside, and so
Mm.
it's a very sad place for me those 18 years. But now, I see what it meant to me, and I wanted people to sort of have that same sort of feeling. And it's a very popular uh, selfie wall now.
Oh wow.
If you stand up to it, people's head usually comes to the bottom of those letters. So it says on the left Mother Viti, which is bye Fiji, and Sota Tale, which is like see you again.
Amazing.
Uh,
I'm glad you had an opportunity to paint that mural at at a airport. I think that in itself is such a blessing, and also to think about how your contribution can also be a part of so many people's lives as they take photographs in front of a mural that you painted, which you may actually encounter such photographs, in passing. So that's very inspiring. Okay. The next one we're going to go to is the third and final visual. What can you tell me about this artwork, Jack?
oh, cool. This was a really popular clothing store here, totally. And they hired me. That's their symbol on the building on the far right there. And they hired me to do their silver store. This is in Nandi again. And that lady with the glasses, that's the changing room, and that's the wall just outside. But they're a very like urban, hip sort of like clothing brand. Everything from shirts, hats, shoes, um, and their whole thing is their hip hop is a big part of their uh, their brand, and so I really wanted to go with that feel, and so using that teal blue and the pinks to have that high contrast, and that dark blue to because a lot of the fixtures in there had these colors as well, and the signpost Vuvale, that means like your family, your the people of your family,
Hmm.
and yeah, so when I was drawing this, I was just like, I feel like I'm back in Oakland, and this was the things that I had started to draw when I first started my journey. Um, so yeah, this was a fun one to do, and the people in the paintings, are people who are part of that store of that brand, who are the movers and shakers.
Uh, I what I appreciate about this, huh?
You see the speech bubble.
Yes.
There's the young lady is holding up her shirt,
Hmm.
and it says baby mix. Baby mix is like the slang for let's have a little small mix of kawa. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that how that seeps into like popular culture.
That's interesting, and I also learned a new term that is of a culture that I am just learning about. So that was very interesting. And as I look at this visual, it the presentation also reminds me of the late 80s, early 90s in terms of like the fashion and also the color palette, which is stimulating for me as well. I don't know if that was the intentionality that you were going for, but I do
Yep.
like it.
Yep.
Um,
They have that like blast in the past sort of. They got modern and some like 80s, 90s, early 2000s sort of like style.
mhm. I
Yeah,
can
for sure.
see. I can see that crossover of generational culture as you describe it, and I'm also glad that the Oakland, California culture impacted your perspective and of art as well, which it seemed like you also incorporated or um, added to, well, not an added to, but helped to enhance just your overall visual expressionism as well.
For
So
sure.
that's cool. Okay, so these were the three photographs that Jack presented to me. That are some of his artworks. And you can also, correct me if I'm wrong, Jack, if people want to experience your artworks in the United States, they can also hopefully still experience some of your murals in Oakland. Are you aware if some of your works are still uh, intact?
There was one that was done in Jack London. I'm not sure. It got tagged pretty bad, but
Oh,
that was up 5 to 6 years. It had a good long run,
yeah.
and I'm not sure if that utility box. I think it's over on 29th and Telegraph.
Hmm.
I'm not sure if it's still there, if it got painted over. That was a while back.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I hope it's still there. I personally have not experienced it physically, so that is motivation for me to venture into Oakland now.
For sure.
Okay, we're gonna go to the next segment. Thank you all for tuning in. I'm enjoying this conversation, Jack. You're a very well-spoken um, guest, and as I'm listening to you, I would encourage you to consider doing some vlogs just based on how descriptive and detail you are in your perspective so that people who appreciate you as well as your artistry can be join you in your journey of doing the various creations that you're doing. Also, one more question. There was a question from one of my cousins who read the description for the episode, and she asked me to ask you, what would you suggest people who are venturing to Fiji participate in terms of activities specifically for tours? I know there's a variety of different tours that people can experience when they go to other countries. So, yeah, what tours would you suggest individuals experience in Fiji?
Depends what you. We've got lots of things. You can snorkeling is beautiful. Shark dives if you are certified. There are a lot of treks into the interior, horseback riding uh, um, to the like. There's a river safari. There are camping, glamping, all levels of accommodation. Um, Suva is the capital. It's a bit more urban. Sometimes people usually stay at the resorts, and the resorts have a lot of their own activities. Um, the nightlife is kind of cool. There's a lot of new nightclubs and clubs in town. DJs. Uh, the beaches. There's kava. They definitely have to try kava. Uh, um, and no, not just the little sip, but like be a part of it to get that full effect. Yeah, it's a lovely elixir. Um, yeah, it just really depends what you want to get to. There's a lot of things you can do here. A lot of times because the Nandi airport is in the west, and so it's a bit more drier, hotter. People usually congregate up there. I'm down south, uh, in Suva, which is about a 3 hour drive along the Coral Coast.
Hmm.
Um, to drive around the whole island would take you about 8 to 12 hours, depending on traffic.
Yep.
There's a lot of things, sights to see, and the ocean is The ocean is like one of the main parts, is the beaches and stuff like that. But yeah, Kava will definitely slow you down and chill you out.
Okay, I appreciate your recommendations for those considering touring Fiji, which I hope to have an opportunity to experience eventually, and also visit you. So that would be a fun
Sure.
experience.
Do
So we're
hit me
gonna,
up. Yeah.
yeah, and so then we're gonna go to the next segment. So this is called the multiple intelligence theory. So I'll briefly describe what it is. So for those who are unfamiliar with the multiple intelligence theory, there's when it comes to intellect, there's three. I'm sorry. There's two theories regarding intelligence, and one is more popular than the other. The more popular theory suggests we as individuals have three forms of intellect, which would be math, writing, and science intellects, also known as logical, linguistic, and naturalistic. And so, since this theory is adopted by academic institutions here in the United States and maybe also abroad, when we're tested in our senior year, we're tested on in these intellects, and based on our performance and scoring, individuals may be allowed to advance to the collegiate level. And so, but however, there's an alternative theory called the multiple intelligence theory presented by a theorist named Howard Gardner, which suggests that in addition to the three intellects that I mentioned, we as individuals have six additional intellects, which will be musical, existential slash spiritual, interpersonal slash people smart, bodily kinesthetic, body smart, intrapersonal self smart, and spatial intelligence. Which spatial intelligence would be the ability to engage and interact with physical objects outside of your body. So, architects, people who are good with their hands in terms of building, such as I would theorize Jack's parents, who we mentioned earlier, they may have high degrees of spatial intelligence. And I like to present this theory on the podcast to inspire awareness for individuals who may firstly be unaware of it, and also individuals who may have low self-esteem because they don't have high degrees of writing, mathematic, and scientific intelligence. And so when it comes to intellect, it seems that with practice and repetition, one can increase their intelligences, similar to a basketball player playing basketball. In theory, if the more you practice playing the game and shooting your shot, your abilities will grow and enhance, which can boost self confidence and morale and self esteem. So, if people are aware that they may have heightened degrees of other forms of intellect, this can be motivation for them to want to continue the journey of growth as individuals. So, with that being said, what I want to ask you, Jack, is of the intellects, which one or more do you sense you have high degrees in?
I definitely like the naturalistic. I like that understanding, living, being with nature. Um, body kinesthetic.
Kinesthetic.
Uh, kinesthetic is something, doing a mural is straight labor, and and being able to do those kind of tasks while maintaining creativity is a lot of like mental work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, definitely existential.
Mm-hmm.
That's I'm always wondering why. Uh, Logical, I can get into color theory and talk for days on that and how that sort of influences art and creativity. Um, I can relate to spatial, the mind's eye and the ability to create things in my mind before I put it to action is something that I appreciate the ability to do.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so those ones are most of the ones that I relate to the best.
Okay, and then my follow-up question is how how are you able to enhance these intellects that you have uh, developed in degrees?
These are things that I love to do, anyways. These are things that I love to garden. I love to paint. I love getting to the theory of things. This is something that interests me, and so I think that interest just helps it grow more.
Hmm.
Um, and so yeah, that's how I would develop those intelligences. It's just because I
Okay.
love to do this. I'm I have this interest in it, and it leads me to new information, new ways of doing things, and um, being able to shift gears and okay, that I was wrong. That this new information is as it makes sense, and so I can the ability to to say, oh, that information served me at that time, and now there's more information, and oh, okay, so that helps for sure.
Mm, okay. So the way I interpret how you developed your skills is through committing to staying engaged in activities that you love, appreciate, and are relatable to you, and through your commitment to interacting in these experiences, you discover more about yourself, as well as you discover more of these external experiences, which result in enlightenment, as well as um, development of your skills through your initiatives. Is that a accurate assessment of what you expressed?
For sure.
Great. I would also like to add, just based on your testimony about the challenge of painting the mural, not for the purpose of its physical expansiveness, but due to the dialogue and the conversations that seem to need to be held with individuals who are the clients, and how that was challenging for you. I theorize also you have a high degree of intrapersonal intellect, which would be people smart. Because if you did not take the initiative to remain resilient and listen, as well as express yourself and know when to say no, and dialogue with these individuals, it's possible that the outcome that you achieved may have not come to fruition. And so, though it was a storm, a mental storm, or a storm in terms of the things that needed to be communicated and experiencing miscommunication, you were able to get through the storm of interacting with these individuals, which resulted in an outcome. So I would say once the storm passed, what remained was a heightened degree of your interpersonal intellect as well. How relatable is that to you?
People skills. soft skills is necessary in this business profession. You know, you're putting something that comes from your heart onto something that's their business, their property, something that they have to experience every day. Um, you know, and being able to communicate is very important. Uh, you know, especially if they have suggestions, which everyone has suggestions, and as they should, um, and you as the artist should be well rounded with cultural knowledge of area or geography, and all sorts of knowledge definitely helps in communicating and having this interpersonal relationship, so that when you're finished, the your client is like, I like it. You know, 'cause what you don't want is when you do all that work, and which I'm grateful to say hasn't been something that has happened to me, where they're like, I absolutely hate it. That
Mm.
hasn't happened to me. I know it's happened to other artists that it it, it sort of deviated from the concept, or and and they have to redo it, or it gets taken down. You know, I'm grateful that I have got a lot of these skills, so that everything is worked out on the paper before being committed to the wall, because that's just a lot of work and effort, and artists are an emotional bunch, and if these emotions get in the way, like doing art begrudgingly is not fun. It's doing anything begrudgingly, you know, like you got to really be passionate about it, and be and able to communicate to your clients. And so yeah, interpersonal for sure is a skill that um, I think is necessary.
Mm. Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for that affirmation of my interpretation, um, or validation of that interpretation. So we're gonna go to the final scene. Thank y'all for tuning in. Okay, so in this segment, this is called the interpreting expressions segment. And then in this segment, I like to present an expression which can come in the form of a statement or a question that I've been exposed to, that is relatable to myself and as well as resourceful to myself. And I like to present it in the podcast in hopes that myself and the featured guests can share their interpretation of it, which each individual's perspective is different. So a person's interpretation of a statement can be different and vary. And so then once we share our interpretations of the statement, hopefully our interpretations will be relatable to ourselves, to one another, as well as the viewers. And this and our interpretations can also be inspire individuals to continue to grow themselves. So the interpreting expressions quote today is connect to everything but attach to nothing. Attachment is rooted in fear. You lose your fear of loss when you realize you are already whole. Jack, how would you interpret this expression?
Oof. I mean, I agree with the sentiment. I think it would be a challenging thing to implement in life. You know, attachment. I'm attached to my son, but that's rooted in love, right? Or if I'm not sure if that's the right interpretation, but attachment to nothing. You know, I guess like what I had really had said in the start, right? Like being able to let be and let go.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that is related to this. Um, there's two. If you distill emotions down, there's two, right? There's fear and love,
Mm-hmm.
and love is the positive, and fear is the negative, and so yeah, definitely striving to be more conscious of how to be love or loving, and to attract love, because yeah, when you lose your fear of loss, that's a hard one. That is, yeah, that's to be developed more in future conversations for sure.
Great. Yeah, I look forward to having this conversation with you. And then the follow up question is, so the first question was, how would you interpret it? The second question is, how relatable is this expression to you?
Yeah, like I said, right? Like being less attached to outcomes. Nothing's perfect. Life is not perfect. It's a collection of fun, ugly messes, and that's just life, right? And you know, I always try to not be hard on myself, to not uh, talk negatively about myself, which uh, I guess is rooted to fear. Um, but yeah, I definitely try to live life where make mistakes, move on, try not to make it again. If you didn't learn your lesson, the lesson will come back around, and you're going to experience it until you get to the next level. So yeah,
Okay. I appreciate your interpretation as well as your elaboration of how this expression is relatable. And I hope that you can reach a phase of your life when you are not hard on yourself about um, uh, past, present, or future circumstances and outcomes. My interpretation of this statement is, or this expression is, well, firstly, I would say having awareness. Oh, okay. Oh, so, okay. Well, Jack, you gotta go. He just messaged me. He gotta go. But I thank you for tuning in, Jack. And before you go, I just want to say that if you, I hope you will have continued success in
thank you.
your journey of professionalism, and also just having awareness that um, as long as you can sense the opportunity to grow in at present, and your intentions are to better yourself, that the a very likely outcome will be you attracting more opportunities, which when it comes to opportunity in general, it seems to be a spiritual phenomenon. Like it seems like it derives from a spiritual source, and that can come in the form of relationships, parenting, parenting effectively. And so, if long as you are putting forth the effort to um, engage in the opportunity to better yourself, hopefully you will attract more opportunities. And so, yeah, I hope I will stay in contact with you. Thank you for tuning in, Jack,
Thanks for
or
having
thank
me.
you for being a part of this. And yeah, I hope you have enjoy the rest of the day. I'm going to share my final sentiments as well as my interpretation. So, thank you, Jack.
Thank you. Catch you.
Bye. And so I'm going to share my interpretation of this final quote of this expression. And so my interpretation of it is, firstly, ask the question like, how am I here? How am I existing in the present? And it seems that I'm existing in the present not based on my control of the present. I'm existing in the present based on and an opportunity to better myself. And it seems like that's the intention of experiencing the opportunity to better yourself. If you think about your childhood going always, if you think about your childhood up to present, it seems like we were provided opportunities from a spiritual source to do better, though it was our choice to do better for ourselves through engaging in these opportunities that was presented to us, be it in school and doing our homework, or choosing to apply for a job so that we can save money and buy the things that we appreciate. And so they'll also be aware that, opportunities are out of our control. So the idea that we can be attached to these experiences seems to result in a person being afraid of losing these experiences that ultimately were not in our control from the beginning. And so if we are aware of how opportunity vibrates, then we can also be aware of how we are made whole. We are already whole, and it's up to us to continuously develop and grow our wholeness, which is possible, but not think that we are incomplete. Like we have our potentials and capabilities to engage in the present moment, which can then help us to hopefully attract more opportunities to do better in our lives. So I am connected because I am aware of the opportunities at present. But I'm also not chasing and attached to external circumstances that I'm currently sensing at present. And so if you choose to surrender the idea that if you choose to surrender the idea that if something were to go away, you would not be a lesser of a person, you would be a lesser of a person. And then I think you would realize that you are all is well in your life at present. And so this is my interpretation of the expression that was presented tonight. And so I thank everybody for tuning in to the Journey of Growth podcast, episode 45. I hope if you are in Fiji, you enjoy the rest of the afternoon. And if you are here in the United States, I hope you will enjoy the rest of the evening. I appreciate you all. Good night.